welcome to today's session. In today's session, basically, I'm going to take you through sample item 1, how we are supposed to answer item 1 in the new curriculum. So here there is one example which I've called sample item 1, and it says, in a small town, a local charity organization called Help Hands Foundation has been managing donations and distributions manually. The secretary of the organization maintains a large ledger book to record donations from benefactors and the distributions to the beneficiaries. Recently, some donors have expressed concerns about the transparency and accuracy of the records. Additionally, during the last meeting, a new volunteer suggested digitizing the records for better efficiency and reliability. The organization welcomed the idea, but most of the members are not familiar with using computers. The records from the ledger book have been transcribed and provided in the support file helphands.docx. And an example thank you letter to donors is available in the file thanks.docx. Now, the task: using the support files provided, A. Create an electronic database of the records and use it to generate a report showing the total donations received over the past year. B. Generate a list of beneficiaries who received donations and prepare a personalized thank you letter for each donor. So when you look at this kind of scenario question, this is how these questions will be set for item 1. You need to identify which software, which applications are you going to use. So this number is supposed at least to utilize more than 2 applications, minimum 2 applications. And when we are assessing these applications, there are some factors that we consider. For example, you need to know that while attempting item 1, we are looking at a learner manipulating data using different application programs, and therefore what we consider is use of an appropriate application, data entry if the learner has done tabulation of data, editing of the data, formatting, use of relevant application tools, then representation of data to use multimedia clips, graphical objects, etc. And at the end of it all, a learner should present the product in soft copy and hard copies. So we need to see how are we going to approach this question. Our sample item 1 has been presented to us. We need to see how we can approach it. So going forward, we have the support files here, and the support files here have this help hands doc and thanks doc. We are going to create a folder. So I'm creating a folder. I'm calling it Kakuru Benard 058. I open my folder. I'm going to attempt item 1. I right click and create a new folder. I call it item 1. Then I open item 1. I can now go into the support files. I get, first of all, there is help hand doc and thanks. I can copy these two and I paste them in my working folder here. So I've pasted the 2 files in my working folder, then I'm going to use them. So this help hands doc, I'm going to open it. This is how the data looks like. So what should you do with this data? For example, when you look at this data, it is separated with commas. These are the headings. Now I can highlight this data. After highlighting it, I go to insert table, then I choose convert to table. I have converted this data into a table. I'm doing some editing. I can continue and modify my table. Can click, I go to table design. Remember, all this you are doing it on your own. There are no instructions telling you to do, but you are showcasing the skills that you have in this Office package or this Office application. So I've done something like that. I can put a title, Help Hands Donations 2024, something like that. So I can highlight, I center my heading, I increase font size, can bold, I can even change the font color, I can even underline. That is enough. I save changes. I can put a header of my name. So I go to insert, I go to header or footer. I can put a footer of my name. So this is Kakuru Benard 058. I close header footer. So this is the work that I've managed to do in Microsoft Word. I'm going to copy this table and create an Excel sheet so that I can do some calculations. So I've used Word to do editing of the work. I've created the table, I've formatted, I've put headers and footers. So we can now go to Excel. In my folder here, I'm going to right click. I go to new and open, for example, Microsoft Excel sheet. I can call it Help Hands Donations. Help Hands Donations. I open my Excel sheet, and within this Excel sheet, I can paste the data that was in my Word document. Let me try to maximize the columns, expanding them a bit so that they can accommodate my values, something like that. So after doing this, let's do some small calculations. The question was telling us to use an electronic database, to use it to generate a report showing total donations received over the past years, so something like that. So here we can have a row for total donations. So under total donations, this donation amount, I can say equal signs sum. I open brackets, I highlight donation amount, I close the brackets and press enter. So something like that. I've put some total donations. I can add another row, for example, to calculate balances or something like that. But this is what basically was needed. Let me highlight the donor's name and the distribution amount or donor amount, and create a graph. So I go to insert, I come to the graph and I generate, for example, a column graph. So this is a graph that I've generated. You can put some headings there. So here I can say this is a column graph showing donation amount. You can put the x-axis and y-axis. So from here I can add axis. This is the y-axis. So here if I choose this and I put the y-axis here, we need amount, and then here we have names. Okay, so I've labeled my graph and it is here. Because in your work we need at least pictorial representation of your data. So this is something that I've managed to do in Excel. I can save changes and close. More to that, we can create a database. Let's create a database file and we import our work. Then we do more calculations in this. Let me open it well. So I right click, I go to new and choose Microsoft Access. I give it a name, Help Hands Database. Help Hands Database. I open my database. So on opening it, I can now import my Excel data into Access. So I go to external data, I go to new data source. From file, I use Excel. Where is my Excel saved? I browse. It is saved on the desktop in my folder Kakuru Benard 058 in item 1, and I'm using Help Hands donation Excel sheet. So I double click it, I click OK. Then from here, first rows contain column headings, yes. Then from there, I click next, next. I choose my primary key. For example, I can choose that one is okay. I click next. Then this one, let me call it donation table. Donations table. I click on finish. You can click OK. I close. So this is our table. And this table, this we can remove this row. Can delete this one. I say yes. Now this is our table. Let's double click to have the columns well expanded. So this one, we have it like this. I save changes. Now in database, we can create some objects. Let me create a form, for example. I create form wizard, take all fields, I click next, next. I can call it donation form. I click finish. So on this form, we can do some simple things there. One, put your footer. I can put a footer, you click view, design view. Let me put a footer here. I click there, I pick a label, capital A, small a. I write my names, 058, that is a footer. So on this form, I think it is enough for now. Let me save changes, click view, form view. That is our form. I close. Let's create at least one query. I go to create query design. I add my table. I put all the fields. Now this kind of query, let me first save it. I can call it donation query. Donations. Yes, I can call it donations. I click OK. Now in this query, I want us to use it to calculate, for example, donation balance. We get amount that was donated minus the amount that was distributed. So click in a new field after distribution date. We go to builder. We get donation amount minus distribution amount. We click OK. Now replace this expr1 with a title. For example, I call it balance. And then I run my query. This one comes with the balance. That is a simple calculation we can do there. And also one could do the total donations in a query here. So here you can click there. Then here we have totals. I click there. And then now I will use this option that has come. And I say sum up the totals. And I save changes. I close. Let's create a report from maybe this donations query. I create report wizard. I can create from the query called donations. I take all fields. I click next, next, next. I can put it in landscape. I click next and I call it donations report. I click finish. So when you look at this report, some columns are not fitting. For example, here we can close print preview. we adjust them. This is too long. We can highlight and adjust it a bit up to there. This one we can expand it backwards. Then we have donation date. From there, this beneficiary name, we can reduce it a bit. We have this amount that was distributed. Can bring it backwards a bit. We have date of distribution, something like that. And then lastly, we have balance, which is here. On this report, I can put a footer of my names and personal number. So here I put Kakuru Benard 058. Then after putting my footer, what else can I put on this report? Let me click view, report view. So this is our report. It is showing some balance. So this report of ours, if we put it in design view again, we can do some simple calculation here. So we can have a new field here, and we draw our field here. This field, I think this field we don't need it, sorry. I think I confused it with a form. So I think that is it for our report. If we click view, report view, here we are, and this is our report. So meaning that in our database, we have made a table, we have made a query, a form, and a report. This is what is important in database. We close. So lastly, remember we had a thanks letter, meaning that with this letter, we need to do mail merge. When you look at such a letter on behalf of Help Hands, we would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude for generous donation of that amount. So meaning that having created a database, we can now use it as our contact list to do mail merge. So let's do that. We go to mailings, select recipients, use an existing list, and this list is in our folder on the desktop in a folder called Kakuru Benard 058 in item 1, and we are using this database, Help Hands database. So having selected that, we are using donations table, and then we click OK. We have imported our recipients. So let's highlight this date, and we put date that is supposed to go here. We insert a merge field, distribution date. We can bold it. Next is donor name. We can highlight that. We come to insert merge fields. Donor name is here. After inserting that, we can also bold that. On behalf, there is this donor amount. We can highlight that, and we also insert the merge field for donation amount. There is this donation date. We insert merge field, date of donation. Then we have beneficiary name. We highlight that. We go insert merge field, beneficiary name, and then finally conclude your name, Kakuru Benard. My title, I can say Managing Director, Help Hands Foundation. My contact, I say 7756107662, or Kakuru Benard 5@gmail.com. Those are my contacts, the real contacts. In case you want to contact me, they are there. So let's do preview results. Our letter now becomes complete. Let's see other recipients, like that, like that. So finally, all our 6 people are there. So we can highlight, we do some editing. Let's increase font size, maybe to 14. We can justify our work. We can change font style, maybe to Times New Roman. So something like this. Our letter is now okay. And now let's say I may need to put like a watermark. I may need to put like a drop cap. So I can put a drop cap, maybe dropped to 2 lines. I click OK. So something like that. I save changes. Let me put a footer. I can insert a footer of my names so that my work is unique from the other neighbor. So finally, this number is completed. So we need to print here, finish and merge. We edit individual documents. We are finishing mail merge, edit individual documents. You tap here and click all. Okay. So these are the letters. First letter for John Dew. The second letter, Ben Sison. The third letter, Alice Lee. The fourth, James Dick. The fifth, Mark Brown. The sixth, Kent Brilliant. Yeah, so our letters are finished. And we are done with mail merge. So let's save these letters in our working folder. It is on the desktop. So on the desktop in a folder Kakuru Benard 58, in item 1, let's call it thank you letters. Thank you letters. Click save. And so this number is now complete. This number is complete. From this question, after presenting this question, we have interpreted it and found that we have to use at least more than one application. We used the help hands doc to edit the information that was given us and made a table. We edited it and then we put some headings and a footer. We finished. From there, we transferred work into Excel and did some simple calculations and the graph. After that, we moved to database, imported the data from Excel into database. We have a table now. We created a query. We created a form. We also created a report. Those are the objects in Access. And from there, we concluded by generating thank you letters. So this we can delete so that our work is here with 3 applications. So item 1 is done. Item 2 is supposed to be either website designing or publication. So in our next episode, we shall look at item 2. But for now, much of the emphasis was put on item 1. How do we approach item 1? So the question is here. I'm going to include it in the video description. Please check it out. Subscribe to this channel for more updates. And when it comes to item 1, this book of website designing is here for you. Please grab it and perfect website designing at your pace. It can be used by students. It can be used by teachers. And by the way, I'm also available for those who need me to guide your learners on how best they can approach paper 1 and paper 2 for new curriculum, and also those of A level. So we can go through these sessions, the examination format, assessing the practical items, elements of construct for practical ICT and theory, website designing, and then generally revising for UNEB in the new curriculum. We understand and appreciate the use of ICT to solve societal problems as the construct. And then we look at those elements of construct for paper 1 and paper 2 generally. So we can go through all this content together with your learners and see how best they can pass their ICT in the new lower curriculum. So that is it. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more of the updates and ensure to keep updated. So these are my contacts at the bottom in case you need my services, including facilitation, workshops, trainings, and all the ICT resources, including ICT books for new lower curriculum, including website designing books. I'm one of the authors, and also on my YouTube channel, enough content is there. Thank you and God bless.